all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You got the bad chair tonight.
I did?
You got it again?
I don't know.
That's good.
I have no idea. I don't think I'm
Welcome.
Yes.
We want to actually welcome Troop 58 from Southampton here tonight. They're observing the board meeting and getting their communication badges tonight. So, assuming that Mrs. Fowler says they do well in their discussions afterwards. So, all right. But welcome, guys. I hope you learned something. And Trustee Ostremski's son Cole is in that group. And welcome. So we have a public comment. We have several people who've signed up here for public comment. So, Judy?
I'm after Bill Robinson.
Okay. Oh, you're here to make a comment about the, okay. We got Midge.
Just wanted to thank you all for having us tonight.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
That was easy.
Let's see what this. Bliss. Oris. So you put, come on up, Oris.
My name is Oris Bliss, and I'm a resident of Southampton Village, Box 473. I've asked Steve to give each of you a copy of some items from the recent press. The press reports that there are allegations relating to some possible lying by certain police officers to the internal affairs investigation. And there's some allegations that a police officer working and arresting perpetrators while under the influence of narcotic medications. Now, I am not here to relate to those issues or those allegations. I guess my sole mission today is to see if we can get the Southampton Village trustees to authorize a forensic investigation of the expenses that are being allocated to Southampton Village taxpayers that relate to certain activities by the Southampton Town Police. The Southampton Town has had the privilege of these newspaper articles. In the articles, I note that certain police perpetrators have been arrested, indicted, convicted, jailed, and now released by Suffolk County DA Spota. Now, the question is why? I'm not here to raise any issues or understand what was going on. In addition, the congregants of the Southampton Full Gospel Church gathered in 2011. The police herded them, and they have since been awarded, according to what the press said, a $40,000. The federal judge awarded them a $40,000 payment plus expenses, which some say those expenses could approach $100,000. I have every belief that the police officers mentioned and all the members here mentioned are honest citizens, have done their job properly, and I have no issues with them. My issue is who's going to pay for all of this. And if you look at my attachments, I have sent letters to Len Marchese, who is the Southampton Town Comptroller, and I've asked him to outline how these expenses essentially are being allocated. And he said very clearly they're being allocated so that Southampton Village taxpayers will pay a certain portion of those expenses. I believe that that is unfair and unreasonable. My letters to Marchese are attached. I've met with him twice. I've asked him to respond to me on a number of issues. I'll quit in a minute here. My point is opinion 8414 of New York State Controller, page 455 attached, I believe that the opinion states, and this is out of context, no village in Suffolk County is to be assessed for the cost or maintenance of operation of a town police department. Len Marchese has refused to respond to my 2 letters. When I meet with him, he stonewalls me. It's easier dealing with the Kremlin than with Southampton Town. I've spoken to Carl Benincasa, who is Associate Counsel for the town of Southampton. I've pointed the language out to him, and I've asked him, would he send me a memorandum as to how that language applies and how they can come to the conclusion that Southampton Village taxpayers should pay these expenses. I've had no response. I reasonably request that Southampton trustees authorize an independent forensic study of how these expenses are being allocated to the general funds, and should they be paid by Southampton Village taxpayers. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Morris.
Thank you, Horace.
Okay. Jay.
My name is Jay Deasing, and I'm a resident of the village. I wanted to request that the board authorize either the building department or the planning board to take a look at the parking requirements in the R20 and smaller districts, because we are seeing, and I know I've spoken with a number of the trustees individually about the fact that in many cases the on-site parking is really very limited, and with a 5, 6, or 7 bedroom house on a half-acre parcel, what we're finding is that many people are starting to park in the streets. And given that our streets really weren't designed for parking on both sides, it's causing some issues of safety, I think, some issues of the feel of the village. And so if that's something that you all could consider, we'd be willing to sort of sit down, and we've spoken with a lot of residents, and I think we came up with a pretty good consensus as to what some of the changes might be that would help. And if you look at this, you'll see that the first 2 actually are scenarios where there's a sufficient amount of on-site parking, because they basically made it so that 3 cars can pull in and actually turn around and drive back out, heading into the street with the front of the car. And I've seen a couple of instances where, for example, on Meeting House Lane, a car is backing out of a narrow driveway, and there's cars already parked, and they've nearly T-boned a school bus or a UPS truck, because the visibility and the safety issue, I think, is something we've got to consider. But then when you look at the 3rd and the 4th example here, you can see that there's either a shotgun driveway, and there's no way for a car to ever turn around and come front out of the driveway. Or in most cases, they don't want to park more than 1 car in the driveway because it may get boxed in. Or a second scenario where there's not really enough room to park in what's a little bit of an L-shaped section. So I think there's some ways we could fix it, just tweak it a little bit, and that would really keep cars from parking on the streets.
Okay.
And it also would be useful when somebody renovates and maybe cuts off the backyard, puts a pool in. We might want to have them consider putting parking in the front yard. I mean, I know it may be a quid pro quo to some extent, but I think it really is a safety issue.
Well, Brenda, you schedule an appointment with Jay, John, Mike, and myself, and then John Foster, Mike and myself, and then Rick DePietris. So that way we can look at this and see if we can incorporate these changes you guys are recommending. So, I mean, all you have to do is drive down any one of our streets, and I don't think there's many people who disagree with what you're saying, so.
And it seems when it
Yeah.
gets over a half acre, there's almost always enough parking. But in those smaller districts, and when you have those houses one on top of each other, some streets now really have a lot of cars lining them. So
Yeah, and
would appreciate it.
We've worked on this before. I know John Foster had made some recommendations on we changed some of the requirements for front yard parking with screening and actually shorten the distance and allow more people to put a loop in front of their house. But if there's other ideas, we're open to all that stuff. So, okay.
Great.
All right, thanks.
Good, thank you.
Anyone else from the public who'd like to speak that didn't get a chance to? Okay, so we're going to close the public hearing. We've got some board presentations, ambulance department, chief's vehicle bid results. Troop, guys, this is a good presenter here, okay? All those mothers here and watching him and stuff like that, don't be nervous now, chief, okay?
Try not to. Good evening, Rick Fowler, Chief of the Ambulance. I'm here tonight to present numbers to replace our 2007 Chief's vehicle, which was totaled in an accident earlier this month. I got prices from Specialty Vehicle Sales. This is the company that has built our last 2 Chiefs vehicles as well as our last 2 ambulances. They were the lowest bidder all the last times, so I decided this would be a company to go through. Due to the nature of the incident, that it was an emergency vehicle and that it was going to a call, the village can do an emergency purchase and bypass the public bidding process. The numbers I got back, the price of the vehicle with the conversion is $64,285. This happens to be $1,100 cheap, or $1,100 more than our last vehicle, which was 2 years ago. There's also some additional equipment that we need to purchase as well to fulfill this vehicle's requirements. So we have radios in there, laptop mount, and also radio chargers. This brings the total up to $73,422. We received $34,230 for the old vehicle, so that would bring the total of this new vehicle down to $39,192. I know last meeting we spoke about possibly buying back the damaged vehicle from the insurance company. Unfortunately, they wanted too much money for it, so after speaking with Steve and Kenny Zay, they did not think that would be a wise decision. The insurance company wanted $5,400, and we were going to try to make back $10,000. So there really wasn't too much equipment salvageable, especially for that price. So I would like tonight to ask to move forward with this and to get your approval.
Yeah, well, like as we sent the chief out last time, just as a brush up, because it happened in the event of an emergency, we don't have to go through the formal bidding process, but however, he still had to go and get different pricing. So with that, as he stated, this is the company we've dealt with in the past that has a surplus vehicle ready to be outfitted, and they're familiar with how we work. So I concur with the chief that this is what I'd like to recommend the board go ahead and go out and purchase.
Guys have any other questions for the chief or anything like that? Want to make a...
Okay. I'd like to make a motion.
Let me start it off
Oh.
with some wording for you.
Okay,
Maybe you can
there you
take it
go.
From there.
You got it.
Whereas the Board of Trustees finds that a public emergency exists within the meaning of subsection 4 of section 103 of the General Municipal Law, requiring immediate action which cannot await competitive bidding, resolve that, and then whatever you're authorizing.
Well, of course, it wouldn't be the same without the whereas, so.
I want to look at the emergency resolution.
Of course, very good. So in addition to that, then I would like to make a motion to send it, that we purchase for the SVVA 2014 Chevy Tahoe EMS chief vehicle, as per the specifications of this bid, which is currently around $73,422.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, chief, you got your vehicle there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Pardon? Okay.
I'll write it all up for you. Okay. Great,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, chief.
All right, chief. Roy, come on up.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Dennis Roy, Southampton Fire Department Chief. I'm here to look for your blessings on going ahead and going out to bid with security cameras for 3 of the 4 firehouses. We won't be doing Windmill Lane because we're not sure of what's going to happen to that. This is strictly for outside use. I had budgeted $50,000 out of my capital reserves, and this should only be about $12,000 to $15,000 for only doing outside. It's approximately 10 cameras. They're 1080 high def color and infrared, and it'll be monitored 24 hours. Besides the obvious reasons for security cameras, a lot of times when we come to nighttime calls, the members leave all the doors open and their trucks wide open, and it would give us some security for our personal vehicles and the firehouse. There has been some small items missing over the years, nothing, crazy, but we still would like to have some security there, and I'm sure it'll help our insurance premiums a little bit also.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty clear cut. Every building we have in a village certainly has some security system to it, so they're just playing catch up. So,
Motion there?
yeah, so I want to make the motion to send Chief Dennis Roy out to get the bids for a security camera system for the 3 firehouses for the Southampton Fire Department.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
We have no public hearings tonight. We've got some communications to the board here.
Okay, the first one is from Uniting Against Lung Cancer. We are writing to formally request approval for Uniting Against Lung Cancer's 8th annual Kites for a Cure event to be held at Cooper's Beach on Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, May 24th, 2014, with the rain date of Sunday, May 25th, 2014. Uniting Against Lung Cancer supports innovative lung cancer research at top cancer centers in the United States, and Kites for a Cure brings much-needed awareness and hope for a disease that takes the lives of more people each year than any other cancer. In our first 7 years, Kites for a Cure has raised more than $450,000 for lung cancer research and attracted more than 5,100 guests to join us at a family-oriented event meant as a kickoff to the summer season. We know that you have seen firsthand our wonderful successes as well as the strong community support we receive, even under adverse conditions such as the inclement weather we experienced this past May. More significantly, Kites for a Cure has become our signature family fundraising and awareness event. Families and groups around the United States are now establishing their own kite flies, in great part due to your initial support of our first and flagship Southampton event. Details of date and time, 4 to 6 p.m., Saturday, May 24th. Requested donation is $30, includes a kite, t-shirt, and snacks. Community support is from Southampton Business Alliance, Southampton Village Board of Trustees, Southampton Chamber of Commerce, Southampton High School, The Elegant Setting, Tate's Bakery, Party Rentals, WEHM, local newspapers, magazines, and many more area businesses and organizations. Logistics, volunteers set up, operate, and clean up the event, leaving no impact on the beach. In addition to use of the beach, we request to have the parking lot fees waived for guests and volunteers the day of the event. We'd also like your approval for use of the ramp leading to the beach area and use of the restrooms until 6 p.m. Thank you for your unwavering generosity and support in years past. We look forward to another successful Kites for a Cure in 2014.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the United Against Lung Cancer to hold a Kites for a Cure event on May 24th, 2014, in accordance with their letter dated September 20th, 2013.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second one is from the Hispanic Apostolate of the South Fork. On behalf of the Hispanic community, I would like to thank the Village of Southampton for the cooperation and assistance you have extended to us in past years during our activities. Again, this year we are planning to celebrate the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe on Thursday, December 12th. As in past years, we hope to have 2 outdoor activities on that day. Item 1, Run with the Torch, approximately 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. This activity consists of runners carrying a torch followed by a bus and several other vehicles. It will begin at Red Creek Park, north of Hampton Bays, and will end at Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary Church, 168 Hill Street in Southampton. I've already contacted the town of Southampton for the portion of the run outside the village boundaries. In the past, the town police have accompanied us from Red Creek to the Southampton village line. We request police accompany us from the village line to Sacred Hearts Church. Item 2, the procession from Agawam Park to Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary Church from 5 to 5:30. This activity is a walking procession of approximately 200 people from the park to the church at 168 Hill Street. The procession is done on the sidewalk, but we cross 2 streets. Again, we request police accompany for the procession. Thank you in advance for your help. May God bless you and your kindness and assistance.
We do this every year with these guys. I'd like to authorize the Hispanic Apostolate of the South Fork with their run of the torch and procession from procession, yeah, communicating, guys, from Agawam Park to Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary Church in accordance with their letter dated November 19th, 2013.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolutions, item 1, resolve that the reading of the minutes for the public session on November 14th, 2013 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and the actions taken at the meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Can I have a motion?
Make the
Make the
motion.
motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolve that claims for the warrants dated November 26, 2013, totaling $2,497,144.45, warrant 9 general fund, and $3,147.49, warrant 6 trust fund, be ordered and approved. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Item 1, 71 Hill LLC, December rent for the building inspector, $4,635. Coastal Fire Systems, lights for the fire department vehicles, $1,035.76. Page 2, Patrick Collins, Fire Department volunteer medical reimbursement, $1,000. Corwith's Auto Body, October towing charges, $1,100. David Spellman, legal fees for the defense of the Conrad lawsuit, Evelyn Conrad lawsuit, $1,744.17. Everhart Nurseries, first payment $1,620, second payment $1,620, and a third payment $3,180, all for shade trees for the village. Julie Fitzgerald, balance due for the September Fest Festival, $9,000. Fundamental Business Services, October parking fees, 2009 2050. Page 4, Hampton Truck and Auto, parts for the garage, $1,775. Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, legal fees for closing the DPW, $450,000 bond, $3,072.36. Instance response programming for the fire department, $1,125. LIPA bill, $1,678.61 for the building department. LIPA, $1,105.26 for traffic lights. Page 5, Mayday Communications, radio batteries for the police department, $3,240. National Grid, heating bill for the building inspectors, $1,258.56. Norsec and Son, page 6, October carting, $5,233.50. Payment to the New York State Retirement System for the pensions, $1,122.740. And for the police and fire department, fire pension, $1,264.321.
I see, so 1 million.
1 million.
$1,264,321.
So $1,122,740.
Would be nice, right?
Decimal point movement, that's all.
That's it. What's the decimal point?
Yeah.
James O'Neill, Fire Department volunteer, $1,000. Page 8, Southampton Town, CTV reimbursement, $15,892.40. Strategic Safety Dynamics Rescue Equipment for the Fire Department, $9,930. Page 9, Suffolk County Water Authority, Parks Water Bill, $1,271.56. Town of Brookhaven landfill charges, $4,179.06. Trius Leaf Box for the Highway Department, $6,553. Page 10, Verizon October phone bill, $3,646.74. And the last one is trust warrant, Hampton Signs. This is signs for the Cultural Center, $3,147.49. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the local law entitled the Local Law Annexing Territory to the Village of Southampton is hereby enacted as local law number 6 of 2013. Can I have a motion?
Make-
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Rick, you want to?
As you are aware, the proposed annexation by Beechwood Benedict Southampton LLC was approved by the Village Board of Trustees on September 12, 2013, and by the Town Board of the Town of Southampton on September 24, 2013, after joint public hearings by those two boards. The final step to effect the annexation is the adoption of a local law. It doesn't require public hearings because public hearings were held before the determinations approving the annexation. So this is, this requirement to enact a local law is required by statute. It picks an effective date of January 1, 2014, that being the taxable status date for the village for the next village assessment roll, so that by making it January 1, 2014, by making it effective on that day, the property would be in the village of Southampton as of the taxable status date and could then be assessed on the next village tax roll.
Any other comments or anything like that?
No, pretty much.
All in
went through
favor?
Your roll call vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Yes?
it. Aye.
Trustee Irving?
Aye.
Mayor Epley?
Abstain.
Trustee McCann?
Aye.
Trustee Hatchick?
Aye.
So moved.
Thanks. There you go.
Item 4, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor to execute an intermunicipal agreement between the County of Suffolk and the Village of Southampton regarding the maintenance of the sidewalks along County Road 39 within the village limits. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion is that, and then all the improvements that were done on County Road 39, one of the conditions was that inside the town would maintain the sidewalks. Inside the village would maintain the sidewalks. So we already, from the 1970s, have an agreement already with the county that says it will maintain the signals on County Road 39, which is really the costly piece. And so, which they made improvements to the traffic signals around here. So this is a,
Is it the highway department that will be handling the sidewalk cleaning?
yeah.
Well,
Well, I mean,
the-
There's grass too, isn't there?
there's all sorts of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's,
I had to use one of those sidewalks recently. They need some cleaning. Not cleaning as in, there's a lot of pebble and stone debris on them.
okay,
That's what I just wanted to find out.
okay.
Are we gonna be responsible for plowing that too with our little sidewalk plow that we use in the village here too?
If we can, you know,
Which is fine,
yeah.
just trying to.
No, it's just, it's maintenance of it. It's, which would include any type of repairs or, you know, the snow removal and stuff too,
So that's all
as
along
necessary.
where they
Yeah.
just added a sidewalk, so basically
then-
from 7-Eleven all the way to.
And the town's responsible for
The town side.
the town side of it. So,
There is a section in there, sidewalk, curb and grass in between.
right.
We get to mow the grass?
Well, I think we were mowing it anyway over there, so, but this is really just for the sidewalk itself. They needed to finalize that so they can actually close out the process.
All in favor?
All right.
Item 5, whereas a project for the reconstruction of traffic signals, installation of handicap ramps, curb and sidewalk improvements, and bicycle route guidance entitled Local Safe Streets and Traffic Calming Project, LSSTC, PIN 0760.29, the project is eligible for funding under Title 23 U.S. Code as amended that calls for the apportionment of the costs of such programs to be borne at the ratio of 100% federal funds and 0% non-federal funds. And now therefore the Village of Southampton Board duly convened does hereby resolve that the Village of Southampton hereby approves the above subject project, and it hereby further resolve that the Village of Southampton Board authorizes the Treasurer of the Village of Southampton to pay in the first instance 100% of the federal share of the cost of the LSSTC project or portions thereof, and be it further resolved that the sum of $31,616 is hereby appropriated from the general fund and made available to cover the cost of participation in the above phase of the project, and is further resolved that in the event the full federal and non-federal share cost exceeds the amount appropriated above, the Village of Southampton shall convene as soon as possible to appropriate said excess amount immediately upon notification by the mayor thereof, and is further resolved that the mayor of the Village of Southampton be and is hereby authorized to execute all necessary agreements, certifications, or reimbursement requests for federal aid and/or Marchicelli aid on behalf of the Village of Southampton with the New York State Department of Transportation in connection with the advancement or approval of the project and providing for the administration of the project and the municipality's first instance funding of product cost and permanent funding of the local share of federal aid and state aid eligible project costs and all project costs within appropriations, therefore, that are not so eligible, and is further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be filed with the New York State Commissioner of Transportation by attaching it to any necessary agreement in connection with the project, and is further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Got a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. This is just a required resolution in order to get the first drawdown on that grant that's being funded through the federal government.
This is the second project that we did with them, is that correct?
No, this is a portion of the funding on the one that's just being completed.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Road,
first
right?
project was the one over by the school.
That's Safe Drosser School, right. This
Yeah.
is a separate
Is
grant.
this a different one?
Well,
This
this
is
is-
the second part of it, right?
Well, this is the project that is
Oh, okay,
North Sea
Safe
Road.
Road. Right.
Where we improve the intersections of West Prospect
It's
and
a
North
bump
Sea
outs.
and at Windmill Lane, and some signal changes that were done. So,
Right.
Crosswalk, bump outs.
Crosswalk.
Were they involved in the drainage there as well, or was that
that's
something
a whole,
different?
That was
that's
separate.
a separate, the drainage is a whole other grant. There was maybe a couple of grants
Wonderful.
associated with that, so.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6, resolve the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate overages through November 26, 2013. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second.
Discussion. Item 1 is 1,128 into state retirement, 88,906 into police retirement, 53,534 out of contingency, and 36,500 from trustee special project. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And item 7, resolve that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the appointment of Cleary Consulting, 529 Asheroken Avenue, Northport, New York, 11768, as an alternative planning consultant to Nelson Pope and Voorhees, should Nelson Pope and Voorhees not be able to assist the village due to a conflict of interest. Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
The purpose behind this is that Chick Voorhees had contacted me because there's some projects that are coming up that are with individuals that he's done significant work for, and he felt like it was a potential conflict of interest, so he had made a recommendation, Cleary Consulting, to come in and be the group that, for any type of projects that were a conflict of interest. The reimbursement rate would be the same. Probably should add that into the
Okay.
resolution here. I can't remember what it is. He has a whole reimbursement fee
Yes, there's a whole
schedule,
chart.
which should have been included in this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Some discussion items here. First up on the discussion items, Bill Robinson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. I appear before you tonight as a private tax-paying citizen of a piece of property on North Sea Road. I'm also joined formally in this petition to you all by Anthony Punnett, whose company owns the property known as 200 North Sea Road, which is at the northeast corner of Prospect Street and North Sea Road. He is unable to attend this evening. My proposal to the board is to amend the zoning law to create a retail, what I'm calling special exception overlay zone along North Sea Road. That would extend on both sides of North Sea Road from County Road 39 to the intersection with Windmill Lane, and then on Windmill Lane, both sides from that intersection on the west to Lola Prentice Park, and on the east to the North End Graveyard. Also on North Sea Road continuing south to the North End Graveyard on the west side, and then possibly include the property for which is now the public house. And there are also 4 parcels on the east side of North Main Street, south of Jennings Avenue, from Jennings Avenue to the north side of the Methodist Church. This area is presently office district, and it has been office district since 1974. I don't really want to go in necessarily to a lot of details with you this evening because I know you know all this, and I don't want to appear to be talking to you
Well,
about things
actually,
you
I
already
think it's
know.
going to be important that, because there's individuals that are going to watch this on TV, so. I think
Okay,
it's-
so I'll then be specific, so please don't think
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Okay.
tell
No,
you
no,
things
no.
you already know. The reason for this, and my involvement obviously as a property owner is obvious, but the reason for this is that over the years, it does not appear that the office district zone has really met whatever expectations might have been had of it in 1974. As you may remember, our first zoning statute and ordinance came about in 1930, and at that time, North Sea Road south of Hillcrest was general commercial property, which included retail sales, and certain businesses were established along there. The Duryan Baird, building, which is now the bank, which was a masonry supply place and masonry outfitter. There was also a sand pit along the west side of the road. North of Hillcrest Avenue basically was residential, and some of those houses are still on the east side of the road. But it seems clear from a change of our culture, society, and the demographics of this area in the last 20 years that there has been a diminishing value for the demand for conventional office buildings. Certainly with the ascendancy of the internet, with teleconferencing, Twitter, tweets, and everything else, the demand for conventional office buildings is continuing to diminish. And I think also it's a diminution of this area also because this area just has not developed into the office complex that might have been thought of 40 years ago. There are no insurance companies out here. There's not a demand for large office complexes. Indeed, there is an office building. There was formerly a doctor's office complex on the west side of the road opposite Schmidt's Market, which has been vacant now, I think, for 4 years or so. And I've talked to other people, property owners along the road, and they lament the same factor, that their property they feel is underutilized and could be utilized for something other than an office zone. So I think that the concept of the office district is diminished. But what it does do and what it does provide, I think, is a format for this proposal, and that is that there is a rural character to that street. There is a separation between buildings. As you may be aware of, the primary difference in zoning area setbacks between office district properties or village business and office district is the setbacks from the front and side yards. In the village business zone, the setback on the front yard is 0, the side yards are 0 or 15 feet. And in the office district, the setback is 35 feet on the front, and the minimum side yard, I think, is 25. So there is a separation of those buildings along that road that exists now and that has been created through the time. So I don't think it's the best thing, personally, to change it from office district to village business. I think the better thing would be to try and maintain some of those setbacks with a little adjustments to them, but to continue the sort of rural character of that road by having an overlay zone, which would have a few different setbacks of minimal change, but still keep basically the character of that road. Be mindful also in my address this evening that north of Hillcrest Avenue on the west side of the road is a highway business zone. That basically encompasses the Gulf Station, McDonald's, Southampton Tire, and the bank property. So what I'm really talking about is incorporating that into this proposal, which is to basically have the overlay zone impact or affect those properties which front on North Sea Road and go the length of the property. As you may be aware, on the east side of the road, there is a 200-foot setback that is almost eclipsed now by the purchase by the village or the town of the Aldrich Lane property and now the Farrell piece below that. You can see that I've depicted this over here for Section 4, and the green would be the proposed zone, and I just highlighted in red the parcels that are owned by the town. This other one is the museum, the African American Museum, and that, again, would not be ever part of any part of the zone. Going further south, we have the Punnett property at Prospect Street, Lynch's, the post office, the Schmidt Marketplace, going through to the triangle below North Sea Road where English Country Antiques, Kathleen's is, and then continuing up here with the 4 properties on North Main Street. I mean, that is a separation, certainly of geography and distance, but there's no point in not including those in this proposal as I consider. 2 of those parcels are retail in any event. So that's sort of the way it looks graphically. In all, depending upon how anybody wanted to analyze it in terms of ownership or use, I've calculated that there are basically 47 parcels that are involved in this project. And a substantial number of those parcels, which I'll address in a moment, are already retail businesses and have been such, basically non-conforming uses. So what I have for you this evening is on page 1, a brief proposal. I've also proposed that for Rick's consideration that the overlay zone have the transition yard from the commercial zone to the residential zone, and as you're aware of, it's 50 feet standard, but I'm suggesting that that be 30 feet to coincide with the rear yard requirement, because most of the parking will be in the rear yards, which is a fairly benign use, not used much at night, and I think for most of those parcels along that road, the 30 feet would be adequate. Again, the reason for this is that I think that the village could use the retail space. As you're aware of, and I don't know all the details of it, but the village had commissioned the Gibbs Planning Group to do a study of the village recently. They submitted a report last March in which they concluded that the village could absorb 109,100 square feet of retail space. There's really no other place for that space to go than North Sea Road, in my opinion. The village business zone along Hampton Road, Main Street, and Job's Lane is basically saturated. And all those zones are surrounded by residential properties to which that could not be expanded. The other area might be the Hampton Road corridor, but that has presently a very rural residential type of appeal and look today, which I think would be diminished if you had wall-to-wall village business type of shop setup. So as far as absorbing 109,000 square feet of retail space, I think that the North Sea Road corridor is really about the only place that this can happen. And even with that, notwithstanding there might be consolidation of some of the parcels at some future time, it's not even clear by any means that that area could absorb that much retail space. To give you an idea what the statistics are like that, the parcel that I own is roughly just over 28,000 square feet, and that will accommodate a building of 3,500 square feet, given the parking requirements and health department requirements. So 28,000 feet yielding a building of 3,500 square feet, it would take 31 of those parcels to absorb 109,000 square feet of space. The 109,000 square feet of space at a parking requirement of 1 parking space, call it 10 by 20, per 180 square feet of retail space, would consume 606 parking spaces. If you took the 10 by 20 space and multiplied it out by 606, you get roughly about 3 zoning acres worth of space required just for the parking, not including the alleys, the access, and the islands. That would estimated be another 3 acres. So you're talking almost 6 acres of space alone just for the parking. To give you an idea what that's like, there are 134 spaces only between Hampton Road and Job's Lane on both sides of Main Street. That's 1/5 of the required parking for the expansion of 100,000 square feet. So I've thought about this for quite a while. I think this makes the most sense for the expansion. I think the expansion is necessary, not only to try and keep pace with what's going on in our village today, but also to look to the future. There are a lot of businesses that wouldn't necessarily thrive in that area that do thrive on Main Street. I don't think that area would be susceptible to retail sales of clothing, of walk-in type pedestrian traffic, but certainly there are a lot of businesses as proposed by the Gibbs Group of appliances, of maybe furniture, of sporting goods that would be a standalone type of business that could be utilized. And I think there's a need for that in the village. It's not the fact that the village business district here is vacant in the winter. It's just the rents are very high. And these properties on this road offer the opportunity to maybe have a diminished rent where businesses could survive in a capacity to serve the needs of the community and also generate more business than what is there now. I also did a calculation for the linear distances along the road and came up with the number of 6,148 feet based upon the tax maps. And on both sides of North Sea Road, if you take the linear distance of the non-conforming uses on the west side of the road, 77% of that linear distance today is retail. That includes the banks, which is a substantial statistic, I think, because although this is office district, there have only been 2 offices built in the last 40 years. One is a locally owned law office, and the other is the doctor's office, which has been vacant. So notwithstanding the fact that this has been office district for all this time, the only businesses that really have survived there and thrived are the retail businesses. McDonald's certainly is a variety of retail, and the Gulf Station, 7-Eleven, I mean, Schmidt's, Lynch's, these are all major retail and all non-conforming in that zone. On the east side of the road, there are 16 businesses, and that represents about 50% of that are retail on that side of the road. North of the railroad bridge, 13% of that is, I hope I'm not that boring.
I think it's something you said there, Bill. I tell you.
Could be. Maybe it is.
No.
There's nothing like zoning to really get the juices going.
Preset time, and they're going in to have a discussion over what they saw here today.
Well,
what
you were
people
just saying, they're
presented.
going to discuss now and critique.
Maybe they can add something.
No, I mean, truthfully, what they were looking for is exactly what you're doing here tonight.
Yeah.
Presenting,
watching the
visuals
population
here.
struggle against the stream.
Well, they're not listening to what you're saying, but they're watching how you say it. So we're listening to what you're saying.
So if you took the linear distance of the parcels owned by the village or the town and the museum, that is another 13% to the parcels that are non-retail. So those will obviously are sterilized and will not become retail. That's a total of 66% of the road that is presently retail or would never be joined into this. So there's not, even with this inclusion, there's not a lot of space there to develop a lot of retail uses as there is. But whatever the retail would bring to it, I think is better than having these properties wasting and underutilized and under capacitized for what the village needs. I've gone through the reason for that it's basically the only area to expand this type of use. The traffic considerations I look at and think that, yes, there will be an increase in traffic, but the Gibbs Group had concluded, the very first conclusion in their report was that the North Sea Road corridor is excellent as far as traffic flow goes. I would say to you all that, notwithstanding what the decision might be on this, that you may and should consider in the future trying to obtain another 10 feet of width along North Sea Road from the light at Prospect Street to Bowdoin Square, in which case, if you could do that, you'd then have enough space to conveniently on that road have a 4-lane road with one interior lane going straight and the other one making right turns, and that would greatly facilitate traffic through that corridor. Yes, there are problems with traffic in the summer, But as of any Labor Day, there are very few traffic issues, even notwithstanding the difficulty of getting in and out of the post office. I think that somebody would say to themselves, I personally think that a lot of the traffic would be minimal, or the traffic minimized, because people are going to be on that road in any event. And I think that somebody would say, well, let's go look at furniture in somebody's store after we go to the post office, rather than say, they'll first say, let's go to the post office and then we'll look at some furniture, rather than saying, let's go look at some furniture and by the way, we'll stop off at the post office on the way home. So I think a lot of that traffic is already going to be on that road. The parking requirements for the parcels are going to have a sort of a diminishing effect of the maximum space that can be utilized on them. You're not going from 0-foot setbacks on both sides in the front. These parcels have to provide for their own parking. And I just think that the businesses that are there could prosper more and possibly expand a little bit, and that the road itself could prosper. So I would ask you to please read what I've submitted. I've tried to provide as many statistics as I can. Exhibit A is a brief summary of the parcels, their linear distance. Exhibit with one of the tables, with your dimensional table. And Exhibit B I thought was very interesting to show you that given the business uses in our code, of which there are 57, there's a correlation of 32 uses. There are 23 in correlation, meaning that it doesn't make any difference whether the zone was office, district, or village business. That, for instance, animal husbandry, which is not used here today, both are prohibited uses. But if you took the prohibited, the special exceptions, and the permitted, there's a correlation of 23 out of 32 that are the same in both those districts. And the only meaningful economic difference is the retail store. Restaurants are special exceptions in both uses. So I would ask you, through the ensuing couple of weeks, I already have made presentations to the Planning Commission. I will attend the Planning Commission at their December meeting to submit Exhibit B to them, which they haven't seen before. But I would ask that you would provide some serious consideration to this. I think it's not just for my own self-interest, but I think it's better for the village to have this road become a little bit more commercially viable. It tends to generate better buildings, more attention to the properties, and that road could use a little bit of that. Notwithstanding the comments the board has, I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I think there are two people that are here this evening that might want to address the board.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for Bo right now?
Yeah, so the possibility then could be retail, which is, or more restaurant space or something.
Restaurant would be different. I would say the board should consider making restaurant permitted. It's not so much the restaurant being a special exception, although Rick would, I'm sure, have some good thoughts on that. The special exception is fine. It's just the prohibition or the inhibition for restaurants is the health department.
No, that's what, so that's not in this part of the proposal. So
no, I'm not proposing that. I'm just proposing the only one that I see that's different and viable is retail. And again, if you look at that correlation list, some of those are, you have to have a bit of a chuckle when you read it. I think when you look at boatyard and greenhouse and marina, we don't do that anymore if we ever did.
I don't want to see a road in the village.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's an interesting concept you have there, and it's really something that I think we should digest a bit, because one, that street is not really the most attractive street to go up and down, and without a doubt we need to address it at some point. But boy, a big concern is traffic flow in there, and I think if you did a concept like that, it would require very careful traffic analysis, because you're right, it's mostly on the summer months, but it does jam all the way up to the light there. It's stopped dead.
That's why I said I think that, and I advocated during Dick Spooner's administration that the village try and get an extra 10 feet. Yeah. And if you had retail go in, you'd have buildings that come along that you could redesign these properties, and maybe diminish some traffic. The McLaren property, and by the way, I have the active support of 10 owners along the street for this proposal, including the Lynch group and Kathleen King and the McLaren group. But, you know, a very interesting concept with that would be that if you could access, if those parcels were utilized for retail, you might be able to access, and I realize you just buried all those recharge basins in there, but you might be able to access that from Bowden Square and take that access off North Sea Road. But you need an extra number of feet of width in order to do that, but that's just year after year goes by, nothing happens. You know, I had proposed with my parcel that I would trade the equal square footage with the post office for that amount of square footage at the south of the property they own, because the property I have is opposite Sanford Place, which was a perfect place for a traffic light. And then you could have a traffic light there to govern that if you needed it, and it wouldn't have been any change. The post office never took up the offer, and it just died. So, Michael, I say I'm not certainly not aware of the fact that there's a traffic issue, but to let that continue to languish over those issues, and I said, I don't know how many more vehicles are going to be on that road to visiting a shop like that are not there otherwise. And certainly if you're coming into the village as a visitor from County Road 39, you're driving down that road otherwise, to stop off at some place doesn't add any more traffic.
Well, I think you and I have discussed it before. Part of the traffic issue is the design factor. You have a grocery store there, and you have a post office, and the intersection is absolutely
it's a disaster.
opposite each other.
Yeah, it couldn't be worse. But if you'll talk to traffic people, they say the best kind of intersections like that are opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But the trouble is, there's no way to flow that traffic, and if you had a straight lane and a turning lane, that would alleviate a lot of issues. But again, people aren't willing to put the money into the properties to do these site improvements if the properties aren't generating any revenue.
Yep.
So I think actually, you know, this is one graphic depiction of the red now is retail. So you can see how much of that street is already retail. You know, another issue, Michael, is the fact that, look at that.
Yeah.
The other issue, too, is that, you know, somebody could look at this and say, yes, there's going to be more traffic increase, et cetera, et cetera. What do we do about that? But you take something like the bank use. When those banks were built, not with the Bridgehampton Bank is different because that's a converted building. But when Suffolk County National was there was no such thing as an ATM.
Right.
Now, that sort of had an ebb and a flow. There were a lot of people going to the banks for the ATMs, and now they're all over the place. But again, you take something like that where you wouldn't think that there might have been planned for a certain amount of traffic, but that increased greatly with the ATM. And like I said, I think it's now diminished because they're so prolific all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the traffic is certainly something to look at. But the Gibbs Group, and I don't know how definitive their report was. It's certainly not the most definitive report I've ever read. But it said the traffic access along there is excellent. And again, be a part of the nobody wants to be on that road at 12 o'clock on a Friday in the summer, but, you know, to some extent we have to live with it. So I thank you for your consideration, and again, I'm in front of the Planning Commission also. Yes.
Mark, could I just make a couple of background or preliminary comments, just to put this in a better perspective than it has been labeled. I don't look at this at the moment as a proposal to amend the zoning code. The zoning code, this proposal, whether it's good or bad, involves a significant change to the village master plan, the comprehensive plan, in which retail is not allowed in the office business district. The zoning code could not be amended to implement a proposal like this without first amending the village's comprehensive plan. So if this is something that the village is interested in exploring, the context of it should be a proposal to consider whether the village comprehensive plan should be amended. And if we were going to take a look at something like that, typically we would that we would have the preliminary work done through the Village Planning Commission, just like we did within the last few years when we ended up, after some lengthy time of study, we ended up amending the Village Comprehensive Plan, and then that was followed by zoning amendments having to do with the VB district. So this should be looked at preliminarily, if it's going to be looked at all, as, you know, in the context of whether the village master plan should be looked at for possible amendment. And I would think that you would have the Village Planning Commission take the lead on that, whether at some point you wanted to have any planning consultants work with the Planning Commission on that, like we did with the VB district update. That's something to be considered down the road also. So I think the starting point would simply be whether you, the Village Board of Trustees, want the Planning Commission to take a look at this concept in relation to the Village Master Plan.
Rick, I've already made 2 presentations to the Planning Commission about this, so they are aware of it. I just wanted to alert the trustees here tonight about this so that they're aware of it, and the extent that hopefully that this might go forward, a little bit of coordination could be used, and maybe some expedited efforts to, or at least efficient efforts to move this forward.
Okay. Does have any questions for Bo or anything like that? I mean,
The only one thing I feel is, you know, when I look at this and I see for restaurants, special exception, that means it has to come before us to ask whether or not, or zoning board of appeals or whatever, to see whether or not we feel that particular street can handle the traffic of that particular restaurant. So you're looking at the tenant that's going in there or the purchaser of that particular property. If you turn that into retail and give retail, it's almost the same thing. It almost should be a special exception because the street itself, the frontage on the street and the lots that are there are somewhat small. So you have to be very particular as to what retail will go in there and how much traffic will be generated by that. So instead of just giving as of right and changing the zoning on that to include retail, I mean, I think a lot of the businesses that are there that are retail are businesses that have been there for a very long period of time. And either they evolved from a previous business that was there that was retail. I mean, English
It was
Country-
retail until 1974, Nancy.
Yeah, well, so there you go, and then they changed it.
Yeah.
So, but my thought is at least there's a better way of looking at it and controlling it by giving a special exception.
That's what I
for it.
proposed.
Well, that's what it
Okay,
is.
okay, I thought you wanted it to change it to retail.
No, I
you said,
want retail, notwithstanding Rick's good commentary on this. My proposal is to have the retail business as a special exception overlay zone,
Right.
so that we would keep the setbacks for the office district, and it could have its own setbacks. Rick would know better than I how that happens in terms of, you know, amending the law. But I've shown you the proposed yard dimensions that I thought about and the existing yard dimensions on page 1. But the special exception overlay means that any retail going in there or any site plan amendment
get
for
permission.
that has to go before the Board of Appeals to tweak it. It's not just traffic, but it's the site plan itself. It's to double check you've got the requisite number of parking spaces, the dumpster, and everything else is you know, it's one last opportunity to have an administrative review of something like that, as opposed to just saying it's a matter of right and here's the site plan and no questions asked. So I've tried to think of as many alternatives and machinations of this as possible, and I think that the overlay zone would be the best. I don't know how much of that impacts the comprehensive plan or amending it does, but that's something I hope that the trustees will move forward and work on this to do.
Okay.
I think you might have some commentary.
Anything else? Judy, you just wanted to...
I'm just a soft follow-up on Bo's proposal and ask for your consideration of this issue. We do need more retail space in Southampton. Excuse me, My name is Judy Hadlock. I'm a village resident, and I've been a retail store owner for 34 years on Main Street. There is a balance that I know we have always had and want to continue to have in the village, to have luxury stores and regular stores and very utilitarian stores. And in order to do this, business owners have to be able to have affordable spaces. Capitalism is great, and the space on Main Street and Job's Lane will always be prime. But as the rents go up, it is harder to have independent businesses. East Hampton has had an influx of national brands following their high rent prices. So to keep the balance that has always made our village so beautiful, I think this addition of space would give an opportunity for reasonably priced rents for year-round businesses and for independently owned businesses, which give a certain style and character to a place. Thank you.
You should. Anyone else who would like to make comment or anything like that? Make comment? Okay. Okay, so, Bo, thanks for the presentation, and obviously we're going to have to speak with the Planning Commission.
Yeah, thank you for listening. As I said, I've already made a presentation to the Planning Commission in it's at its October meeting, and also again at the November, and I'll be back again in December. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Bo.
Okay. Village Hall renovation update.
Okay, just want to give you a quick update. As I had mentioned, the elevator shaft has been completed. We're waiting for the elevator to come in. Should be the last week in December. We'll start installation on that. The demolition at this point is basically done. They chipped out all the steel that was in the floors from the jail cell. So the racket is pretty much over with at this point in time. One thing I just want to highlight is that when we did the bond back in October of 2012, we did that bond for the renovation, and we did it for the World War I memorial. Okay, at that point in time, we did have a heating system that was functional down in the basement. Okay, that unfortunately is throwing a real twist to my numbers here, because that is done, as you well know, and irreparable, which we did the bid, and they're starting work last Saturday to replace it. However, when I did the budget on that, I allocated about $40,000 to $50,000 to do the heat on the second floor. I didn't allocate $183,000, so I'm trying to juggle that a little bit. We did use outside services, which worked out well for most of the heavy lifting upstairs and the demolition. At this point in time, I'm going to slow that down and slow down some of the work until after the holidays, whereby after the season is done, and I hope to use more of our building staff to do the restoration work upstairs. What we're ready to do now is they're laying the track for the outside walls, so that when the contractor, when Mulvey comes in to do the heating for the second floor, they know where the radiators have to go on that. After that point, we can do the installation, the sheet rocking, and the rest of the frame out work can be done by our staff. Our electrical staff can run the 200 amp services to both floors, so that will slow the work down a little bit, but again, it's just to balance these numbers out. Okay. What I'm going to use AEC for going forward is just the stair tower out back, which has to be reconfigured and reinforced, and then the fire, alert system. But hopefully, I can do the rest with our internal staff.
All right. Okay. Zoe,
Yes.
dog park.
Yes, the fun.
Save the best for last here, right? Okay.
I have these to go to the trustees just one at a time. Nancy just gets a picture because she's already got one of the dog park brochures, but you like to give them, right?
Then I have to.
Oh, good, I have. Rich, you asked for this?
Sure.
You
Thank you,
go.
Zoe.
Thank you. One, Michael?
Thank you.
Thank you. This goes to you. You don't have one. Nancy, all you get's a picture.
I still have my dog park brochure.
Yeah, the brochure just gives you a few little more selling points on the benefits of the dog park.
Thank you.
Okay. She is back. My name is Zoe. My name is Zoe Kamitsis. I live at 175 Herrick Road in Southampton. I'm a village resident. You may have remembered I was here a month ago
to suggest a dog park at the Agawam, right next to Agawam Park. And we realized that the trustees turned us down for that location, and we understand that there were confusing issues about the long-term planning for the complete property, not just the parcel that we thought would be a good dog park. So we have understood that, and we're going on. Our first choice always was the Lola Prentice Dog Park, and Nancy suggested that in response to our disappointment at the Agawam refusal. And it is very advantageous, even though the merchants won't find it quite so easy to exercise their dogs there. This is actually a better location. It doesn't have to be cleared. It's away from Agawam Lake, which addresses the concerns that Nancy McGann had regarding dog urine in Agawam Lake and the ecological impact of these canines. And so we take that off the table because at the Lola Prentice Park, we don't have that situation. They won't hurt anything there. We would suggest, you can see here, I did this off Google Earth. One of the changes is that the last dog park we thought would be about $10,000, but the superintendent of public works has estimated that this fencing would be probably around $18,000 because it goes. We have 4 sides to it, where the last park we had 2 sides. But we think we can find donors to do either matching grants, reduce the cost to the village, and I think we can do a joint fundraising opportunity, and I think that we could have this dog park for very little money. If you're looking at the picture here, I printed this off Google Earth. You see there the little circular driveway there. Well, the little circular driveway on this would be the parking area for the dog park people. I think we could do the park along the right side of it, and do this one-way traffic, and the traffic could still get by. We'd have an entrance and an exit, and we could park about 20 cars there, and we'd never, I don't think, need more than that. I think they'd all be out of the way of the court. They wouldn't interfere with I know that there are certain times when fire engines park up at the other end, and it wouldn't interfere with the business of the police station. It looks like it's a big park here, but it isn't actually, because there's fencing that starts at the left side of that little circular driveway. So we wouldn't interfere with that. Seems to be fenced off for some purpose of the police department.
Well, what it was we had it's all sprinklered in there, so we were having people that go into the court system driving across there and busting up the sprinklers and tearing the lawn up, and because of wet grass and rainy days. So we actually took right along that where that fence line is actually the actual property boundary between the parkland and actual municipal land where the police department.
Well, it would be perfect to do the fence on the left side of the circle. We don't need more space than that. We would just go right up straight where that little fence is now, and then I think go on the let's see, what would that be? That would be on the west side. We would go in front of the trees.
No, the fence is not on there, right?
Okay.
You can't see it, but it's there. I mean, when I drove by, you can see it very clearly. There's that.
Not on the Google Earth.
It's not on the Google Earth picture.
I mean, that's why I thought it was. It delineates that property. This
Right.
one right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we would come down. I think when we were talking about it, Mayor Epley, you were saying it would be on this side of those trees on the west side, and then down we would do the fencing and a certain amount of the solid fencing to pass the house.
The residential property.
The residential property, and the business that's there already has a person that's exercising her dog there without a safety fence, so they would be very much in favor of it, because we were there and she brought her dog over to run. So we think that this is an ample space for dogs to run and exercise in a safe environment. When you type Lola Prentice into Google, the park comes up described on Southampton Patch, and it says, this Southampton Village public park next to the village police station consists of a manicured lawn and a paved loop for cars. It offers no amenities. Well, we hope we can change this to read, the Southampton Village Park is the Southampton Village Dog Park, where dog owners can meet and socialize their dogs in a safe, fenced park environment. It shows no harm to anyone. It would be wonderful fun. It would bring a lot of people into the village for a happy experience. We could do dog events there in the summer. And I think that what we're doing tonight, we're trying to seek preliminary approval of this site so we can form a committee to do all the pricing we need for the signs and for perhaps a community bulletin board where people could post their lost animals or their found animals or their dog sitting services, and also to seek donations to help cover the costs, which we really can't do until we know what we're doing, until we say, well, you know, and then we would proceed step by step, coming to you with each step of the way. But we need to know if you guys would say okay to this site.
So why don't we do this? So I'd like to make a motion to authorize to go out and design and develop a portion of Lola Prentice Park to be used as a dog park. I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Yes!
A discussion on this.
Just one thing, because even Bill brought it up last time, is this still done on a preliminary basis, a trial basis, you know, or are we just saying go ahead and, or does it even matter anymore? Just asking.
I would love it if you said go ahead and we take it step by step,
Okay.
because then we can get, then we really can move on it and get funds, because we want to help the village do this. And I brought Sarah Davison with me, the director of the Animal Rescue Fund, and I think that you've already done it, but I think she has some wonderful comments to make about dog parks. So if you would,
Okay.
if
Well,
I
we're
could.
still in the discussion points, and we'll come on up here, Sarah.
Can I speak as part of the discussion?
I'll let you speak as part of the discussion.
Okay.
We're changing the rules tonight a little bit, so.
Oh, again, Sarah Davison, Executive Director of the Animal Rescue Fund of the Hamptons. We're a no-kill adoption center located in Waynescott, New York, serving the East End. And I've had a lot of experience with dog parks in East Hampton Town, and they truly are an amenity. And I want to just applaud you for listening to Zoe and considering this seriously, and your resolution, Mayor. I really think you'll find it to be a very happy decision that you will have made. And I just want to offer ARF's assistance to you. We're here for you, you know, to help with the fundraising, to help with the planning, to help with the administration if necessary. But as I think I mentioned to many of you, that these dog parks end up being a wonderful self-policing entity. And so I think you'll have no regrets with going forward with this. Thank you.
Thanks. Bill, yeah.
I was just laughing at the idea of it being self-policing next to the...
That's what I was thinking, too. I knew you were laughing about the same thing that was going through my head, so.
New canine.
Yeah.
Don't bite anything above the rank of PFC.
Is any further comment from
think it's
the
great.
board or anything like that? So, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, hooray!
There you go.
Yeah.
You saved the best for last here. Okay. Okay, great. So we have comments from the board members here. Trustee Yaz.
Just everybody, happy Thanksgiving coming up. And congratulations to.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And congratulations. You know, diligence pays off. As you know, as I discussed, you know, you guys met with us personally and at the other location. So, and you met for this location. So, you know, you persevered and you came back with alternative and questions and information. That's all you can ask of anybody. So, I thank you guys for enduring that. But anyways, again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And again, I thank the departments for the work that they're doing now currently to set up for impending events. And everybody have a good holiday. Thank you.
Great. Mike?
Just a quick follow-up to my comments at the last meeting in regards to the storefronts in our business district. I gave council here a copy of the East Hampton guidelines, and he's going to take a look at it and see if it's something that we could use here. I mean, we've made such a great effort in the village with all the decorations and the impact for Christmas and the holiday season, and it'd be terrible to have empty storefronts and brown paper bags in the windows, and it just doesn't look right.
That's a great packet. That really is a great packet.
Yeah.
So,
Review that.
yeah, I mean, I like to hand that out to everybody. Yes.
Just to wish everyone a really wonderful, safe, enjoyable holiday with family and friends. And also congratulations on the dog park. You'll have to have a big opening party, which will be a really nice thing. So I'm glad. I'm glad that worked out.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. We're excited
You're gonna
about
have
it.
a lot of happy village residents.
Right. Good.
And dogs.
And dogs.
Well, they're
They'll be
going.
smiling. I can just see it now. I mean, they will be smiling, the dogs. So it'll be very nice.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Bill?
One minor thing, I was notified today at about 3:45 that there was a dead deer on Pond Lane down at the far southern part on the landward side, and I checked it. It was still there at 4:30. And so I'll ask the highway department to attend to that in the morning. And another thing, somebody had pointed out to me that if you go by the high school on Narrow Lane, that there are a number of traffic signs that have gotten obscured by a hedge that I think belongs to the residents of the area on the east side of Narrow Lane. And apparently at some point in the past, I think Angel has tried to ask the property owners to cut the hedge back so the signs would be visible again. Their speed limits and high school signs and so on, and I think they are important. Somebody suggested to me today that years ago we may have, I don't know if we notified them first, but to possibly notify the owners of that property that we're going to cut the hedge ourselves if they don't, and send them a bill for it and include it in their tax bill or something like that. I don't know if that's possible, but in any event, as a worst case, I think our own fellows, if it's going to take too long to accomplish it, we ought to just go down there and at least, if you see them, the hedge just keeps growing out and it's wild and so on, and the signs are for the most part invisible, and they are important in an important area, and I think maybe our own fellows could at least trim 15 feet on the side of the signs that's showing you the speed limits and that it's a school zone and so on. I don't know if you'd want to think about it, what's the best way to go about it, but we should do something and not just apparently this has been a problem for quite some time, so I think we ought to try to attend to it. It's a wrong place to have safety signs not visible. And with that, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and Christmas will soon be upon us, eh? We'll have the dogs up and running for Christmas.
There you go. That's right. And I just, again, want to, first of all, it'd be better to go home tonight than it was at the last one.
Yes, right.
Well, it was my wife not very happy.
Swing by to celebrate?
Yeah, swing by and celebrate with us, Rich. So, yeah, thank you for your persistency. So, just as a reminder that on Saturday night is the tree lighting and the parade of lights with the fire department. We've got multiple departments that are going to be participating, and the ambulance is going to be there, and so it's always a great evening. So the village board is encouraged to the Bosch will be there singing. Peter Larson, Reverend Larson, is going to light the Christmas tree, which is a great honor to have him do that. The village board is we normally ride one of the antique trucks, so I encourage you, and if you want to bring your families down and ride the trucks, you're more than welcome.
Where and when?
Grandkids.
Love it every year.
It's like 4:30, I think, is when it kicks off. It really is
So
right.
we usually
at-
meet in front of the Windmill Lane
They line 'em all
Firehouse
up.
at 4 o'clock.
So, if you want to,
They would
come
love
down and we'll jump on the trucks and,
Believe me,
bring your-
it's not the grandchildren, I gotta get there. The grandchildren, they'll be there early, so, but I'll,
yeah, come on down and then we have to vote on which truck we like the most, and it's a good time. So and we have Southampton Center. The chamber is hosting the like a holiday bazaar in there on that's
It starts,
there's 5th or 6th.
it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, so the 6th, 7th, 8th.
Right.
At the Southampton
The
Center.
following weekend.
And then the following weekend, and then the week after that is the Polar Bear Plunge.
Well, they're gonna hold that 3
No.
weekends in a row.
Oh, they
Oh,
are.
3
Oh, that's
weekends in a row.
great.
Yes,
Okay.
straight through,
Also-
Christmas weekend.
December 8th, Sunday, is the Southampton Fire Department Juniors Pancake Breakfast
Yeah.
at the Hampton Road Firehouse.
So, and that starts at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I think it goes till around noon time.
I think it's
When
like
is
8 to
that,
noon,
Steve?
Sunday the 8th, at Hampton Road Firehouse.
December 8th at the Hampton Road Fire. So come out and support. We got a really great group of fire department juniors and some incredible leadership
Some
there.
of which are in the Boy Scouts, so they,
Yeah, some
good,
of them
very
are here.
community-oriented kids.
Yeah. So we got a lot of great stuff that's going on in the month of December. I say it over and over again, shop locally. You know, we talked about this, support local businesses. I was watching the chairman of American Express, and he was talking about, what is it? Saturday, Shop Locals Saturday. And what he said was that 52 cents of every dollar that's spent in a local store remains in that community. And then every dollar that's spent comes back 5 times to your community. So I can't say it enough. It's very important to support the local store owners around here and shop locally. And it's too easy to buy on the internet. It's really easy to run over to Tanger and get caught up in that mess. But if you shop locally, you're supporting many different things, because the local shop owners support places like ARF, and they support the Hamptons, the Human Resources of the Hamptons, and they support the Historical Museum and all the local charities around here, and they're asked to donate stuff for silent auctions all the time, and so it's our responsibility as
Absolutely true.
consumers to support the groups that support all the things that we love about being out here. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up for public comment again. Second public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board? Okay. All right. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.
Second?
Second?
Favor?
Aye.